Hello, everyone. This is Sean Smith, and you are tuned in to the Kountryfried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. The podcast that will connect you to resources regionally and nationwide to engage them and you in open, honest discussions so that we can inspire the growth that you need to chase the experience you want. So strap yourself in because here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Kountryfried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. I'm Sean Smith, and on the other line, it's been a long time, but we have Sam back. How you doing, Sam?
Doing good. Aside from the little seasonal cold here we both seem to have, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, dude, we're like thousands of miles. We're like 1,000+ miles apart, and we both come down with the same summer cold or spring cold at the exact same time. The exact same symptoms and stuff. So that's weird. You want to talk about like Matrix? I think there's something going on. There's something going on with the simulation.
something going on there, something just going on in the environment that we live in that we can all agree suck.
Our numbers must have been drawn. Like, okay, numbers, blah, blah, blah. You guys now have the seasonal colds. Congratulations.
Well, hopefully it's over soon because I'm tired of it.
Yeah. So with that said, folks, our voices obviously are affected a little bit here, and there might be some coughing and some sniffling. I promise I'll do my best to get most of it out in post editing, but just giving a heads up now how that's going to go. So outside of the seasonal cold, it's been a while since we've been on the podcast together. What's going on in Colorado these days?
Well, as you said, we're coming into spring, getting into a little better weather. Surprisingly rainy weather coming this weekend for us here. But it's still getting warmer. We've been in the 80s, so we've been able to get outside and do a lot. We've been on a couple hikes already. Me and the dog just went on one this afternoon, did about quick 2 miles before the rain hit. We did actually get into a little hail on the way back down, so that was exciting. But outside of that, just working hard at work, getting that springtime activity caught up. So how about yourself?
There at the mid part of April, like we had like nothing but rain and more rain and even more rain, like to the point where I was thinking we were going to have like biblical proportions of like flooding going on. And of course, all of our local lakes are still kind of like extremely high. I was talking to some people the other day, and we're like, yeah, some of the Muskegon watershed lakes are still like 6 foot above normal pool. And it's been hard for them to get in and out of the lakes because of it. And they're afraid they're going to miss on the good crappie bite because of the water level. And
I'm sure. And the water clarity as well with all those suspended solids rushing in. You mentioned that flooding. I forgot all about that. My in-laws in Marietta, the Ohio River reached far outside of its banks and went well within town of downtown Marietta, and then some. It was pretty historic flooding that they had.
Yeah, that's never good. And I got empathy, and I have sympathy for people who live in the floodplains and stuff like that get flooded out, especially I mean, we get rain here and there, but for some reason, this April's been extremely wet. In the last several years for us, it's been wetter than normal. And I'm not going to sit here and it's climate change. I am not gone down that route. I'm just saying it's been a little bit wetter than normal.
Which also not a terrible thing, brings all that growth back and gives all those doe a good, fat, healthy diet, gets good antler growth going for a lot of the deer. So, I mean, with some of the negative, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I think it helped kick our mushroom season off early too. It was weird because normally, usually May, it's usually definitely turkey season is in when I start finding mushrooms. This year it was around Easter, which Easter came in, I think, about March, and we were pulling grays already. And some of the bigger yellows started to come in already. So it was pretty early. So I don't know if that wet weather had something to do with it or not, but I know our pond, it has I think it's like a 6 or 8 inch drain on it. We didn't put it in. They had to put it, it was in prior to us buying the place, but It's pumping water out, but it's not pumping it out faster than it's coming in, and it almost went over its banks too. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, we got a lot of rain. And but yeah, saying about the Muskegon watershed lakes, I guess the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they're only like letting like 3 inches of water out a day, and that's just because of other flood management, because all the other bodies of waters are up so high. All the tributaries going into it, the creeks and the rivers and stuff. So they're trying to get most of that down before they can, start cranking that out.
Yeah, all
So
them rivers and tributaries pumping thousands of cubic feet per second, probably. I mean, it's
mhm.
incredible what water can do.
Yeah. Hmm. Unfortunately, I I kind of lost the bug for fishing years ago. I mean, I still do it here and there, but not as prolific as I used to be. I don't know if I got burned out fishing bass tournaments or not. I don't know what the real reason was, but I just
Well, that or just not having a shiny, sparkly boat to jump in and go do it.
um, even when I had it, I started to get away from it. But I don't know. Anyways, nah, we sold that prior to that was back in 2015, back when I was looking
All
at
right.
moving.
Yeah. Well, you did mention something earlier there. You mentioned turkey season. Are you getting out this year?
Mm. You know, I don't think I've discussed it with you on the podcast yet, but I know I've discussed it with some other guests. Turkeys are like the bane of my existence. Real turkeys, turkey targets and archery. It's just for some reason that we just don't play nice. And I don't know. I might. Um, the problem for me is that here the last several years, I've I barely hear a turkey anymore. Like barely. You know, when it ain't been that long ago, I would go out and you would just hear them gobbling everywhere, and now not so much. Like every now and again you might get one, but it's and I don't know if it's just the farms that I'm hunting or it's just the area. I don't know. And
From some of the just things I've read and seen over the past couple of years, I was never much of a turkey hunter, one at all, to tell you the truth. But from some of the things I've seen and read from other turkey hunters back east, it seems like that population's down, and I don't know if it's a predator prey problem or what, but there seems to be the years where you have really good turkey numbers and really low predator numbers, and then those low predator numbers are able to take advantage of those higher prey numbers and helps their numbers the following years, and then hurts the other numbers those years. So could be seeing something like that going on. I have noticed since I've moved here, the Miriam's turkey population is doing splendidly at the moment.
well, if I felt like buying an out of state turkey license and coming all the way to Colorado to shoot a bird, I would do that.
I don't know if a pair of breasts and thighs are quite worth that, but
Yeah.
if you're into it, get after it.
Right. Well, hey, some people like that. Like they're really deep into
Absolutely.
that turkey hunting. Um,
They are
it's
working on
fun.
those world slams and
Yeah.
grand slams. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. It takes years of practice, but
Well, it's kind of
I
like elk
don't
hunting
think I
for
have the
me.
time.
It's kind of like elk hunting for me. Like if they're talking, it's fun. If they're not talking, it's not so much fun. Although the elk kind of, and there's no, I know some people try to draw a correlation between elk and turkey, the hunting styles. It's a little bit, they're not really the same, but I can understand where the similarities would come in, like, with the elk bugling and the turkey gobbling. It makes it fun and exciting when you got that going on. But when it's not happening, at least with elk, you have the opportunity, if you put the legwork in, to find sign like that they're there. Fresh sign. You find fresh beds, fresh, scrapes. Fresh, Hold on, as I'm trying to think.
Wallows?
Yes, thank you. Yes, that fresh wallows. You can find that stuff, and then you can come across them. With turkey, man, I mean, I don't know. Someone who's probably more a prolific turkey hunter could probably explain turkey sign better than I can. But I don't. Outside of seeing a footprint in a soft dirt, I don't know what else I'm looking for. I mean, yeah, scratching stuff like that. I mean, that's evident too. But like I said, if they're not talking, it's not that fun for me.
No doubt. The one thing that has interested me for turkeys since moving out here is in the fall, you can hunt them with a rimfire, or I guess if you really want to, a centerfire rifle. But I've been kind of intrigued by, I guess, being able to hunt a turkey with, just a 22 rimfire, a 17 HMR, and be able to just shoot one from a distance and maybe not put in all that extra work of setting up and calling and them seeing me flinching, which, I'm not saying anything against that, because that's hard work. And maybe that's just because I don't want to put in the hard work for a turkey. And maybe that's why it intrigues me.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and you said center fire. I'm like, I can see some old boy out there on the mount with a 7mm rim mag with a turkey at 300 yards, and they just powderize it. Bang!
seven PRC at 1,000 yards.
I'm like, okay.
But no, it's always been something that's interested me, but nothing that's motivated me.
Right. And I don't, and don't get us wrong. Like, if that's your bread and butter, man, guys and gals, have at it.
Absolutely. We're not dogging on it.
No,
we're telling you why, we have hardships doing it or thinking about doing it.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think we haven't done it in a year or so, but there for a while we were making little camping trips down to Southern Ohio, where we'd backpack in a little bit and then kind of treat it like a backcountry elk hunt, but with turkey. And we'd spend a weekend, which really, honestly, just became more of a glorified camping trip than anything. But it's still fun. Like it's fun. I enjoy doing it. I just like you were talking about earlier, the population's being down. I don't see as many turkey. I don't hear as many, and it's hard. And I haven't really talked to anybody from the state, honestly, to get what their observations are. And I'm not 100% sure they even really know what the root cause of it is. And I don't think anybody really knows. I think it's probably just a perfect storm of a lot of things, whether it being, extremely wet springs, which is not good for a ground nesting bird. The predator increase because we have a rising bobcat population in Ohio. Coyotes,
that's where I'd be one to speculate is on that.
Yeah.
Bobcat population.
Coyotes are prolific, raccoons. Yeah, it's just, I know there are people who hunt them. Well, you can't hunt bobcat in Ohio. We don't have a season for them, so hold off on that before you start raising red flags. We don't have a bobcat season in Ohio. Although I've seen articles that OSU, which does most of the research for our ODNR, has already stated that we have a population size of bobcats that is sustainable for a hunting or trapping season. Now, whether we do it or not, that's another story. But
I was going to say, we can get into the biology of it and the efficacy and everything of having a sustainable population, being able to set a number limit on it. But then you run into people that believe political science is a real science.
Yeah, stupid ballot box biology. I love it. But yeah, and so I don't know if there's just one thing you can point the finger at. But anyways, there is hope on the horizon. I have heard some people saying that they are starting to see more birds in their region, which is good. And now I don't know. Maybe it's just that the habitat's getting older, and because most of the people that have farms around here, they might have a little bit older tree stands. When I say tree stands, but standing timber, more mature woods, which isn't really conducive for a young turkey population. Because they like more, I guess they like more of that broadleaf style, like forest floor type, cover. I'm trying to think of how like forbs and stuff that provide not only food for the hatchlings or whatever they're called, fledglings or whatever they call them, poults. That's it, poults, and but also provide them cover as well. And when you start getting in these older tree stands or tree, older woods, more mature woods, like the forest floor is pretty bare because the canopy of the trees is pretty much taken over everything. So
it leaves a lot of exposure for a bird that spends a lot of time on the floor.
Yeah, especially the poults. They can't fly yet, so they're not able to get up into the trees with their mom yet. They're getting there. I mean, they'll get there eventually if they survive, but I don't know. It's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into it. So way above my pay grade, apparently. But in other news, guess who came home with me yesterday?
Is this a who or a what?
I guess it's a what?
Oh, man. Huh. Something you've been waiting on for some time now?
Yeah,
Does it have antlers?
it does.
Does it have spurs?
No.
So then, is it your buck from, what was it? Not last season, the season prior?
That is correct. From 2022.
Finally.
Finally. This buck has an infamous name. I don't know if I want to share it on the podcast. But there's a name that we use between the friend group of for this buck. But yes. That buck has finally made it home, and he's sitting on the wall now. And which means, I guess now it's time for us to kind of go ahead and tell that story. What do you think?
Which I have been waiting to turn the tables on you and be able to finally ask you the questions. And so here we go.
And here we go. All right, man. What's up?
All right. So, Sean, let's go back. What year was it?
Oh, it was 2022, of course. It was the first year that I decided I was actually going to take a full rutcation. I'm going to take like 2 weeks off of work, just strictly in the rut to go hunting.
And what week did that seem to be best suited for you when you guys finally came together? You finally came together, looked at the calendar, maybe the moon phase if you got that deep into it, and what made you decide this is when I believe rut's going to hit, and these are the days I should take?
Well, unfortunately, there was no real pre-science going into it. What it really came down to was a friend of mine from Texas, Jeff, and his boys. At least one of the boys was coming up to hunt with us, and the first week of November was when they were going to be able to make it up, and
All right.
That's when I decided to go ahead and take that time off.
Good. Now, is this an annual trip that Jeff makes, or is this every 5 years, 10 years?
No, it's pretty annual with them. I don't think they've missed one yet here in the last several years. So he runs a rather large church, a cowboy church down in Texas outside of Dallas, Fort Worth. So I think he actually looks forward to the time off to come up here and get
Very
away.
cool. And
get away
sure
for a little
he
bit.
Does. Has he been able to harvest most years?
Yeah, he's been able to go home. Actually, one of the very first years. This has been a while. But he's shot the largest buck I think we've seen on that property several years ago. And we were all hunting, and he was up there for like 2 days. Like the second day of his hunt, he shot the biggest buck on the property.
No kidding, man. That is.
And then
incredible.
what was funny the rest of that week though, like he had bucks around him all that week, while the rest of us, not so much. But like every sit he went on, he's like, oh yeah, I had a really nice buck next to me, because he would still go out. I think he had a doe. He went ahead and bought another tag to shoot a doe if he wanted to, but he just liked being out in the woods. And so we got to the point where we're like, what we ought to do is just put him out in the woods somewhere, and then we just take our stands and just like sit around him.
Yeah, well, I mean, why not? It seems to be working for him. You may as well follow that lucky horseshoe around.
So we were all like fighting to see who was going to take Jeff with us that day. No,
I imagine piecing him up and taking him with you would be a bit unethical.
Yeah, someone might frown upon that.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. It's very blessed, and congratulations to him to be able to have the kind of success over the years he's had.
Yeah, that was a cool hunt. That was a cool hunt, and I remember helping him track that deer down. It was a 40-yard shot for him, and he freaking smoked it. It was a great moment to be there. I was glad to be part of it. And actually, I'll tell you what year that was. That year was the same year that you and I went out there, and you went back on the ridge, and I stayed up closer to the truck, and I shot that buck that we never found.
Okay.
That was that same year, because they had just left that day. Like that was their first day they were gone. And I went out there and sat down there in that, I don't know. It's one of my favorite spots out there. I've seen some pretty good deer there.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's right around when you started getting the camera equipment and started to film. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, he was one of the original images on the intro for Country Fried Outdoors, was he not?
That came the next year, I think. That was so Country Fried. I didn't start Country Fried until 2020 after I got laid off. And that's when I picked up on Country Fried Outdoors. Our first hunt with that was our first adventure with that actually was what was it? Turkey hunt actually is what started it
Oh,
all.
that's right.
Yeah, is what started it all. Is you and I went out turkey hunting.
That's
Once
right.
again,
But yeah,
back to the bane of my existence, turkey.
that was a fun one though, man. Just we had them coming up on that ridge, not the detached from what we were just on, but that was fun.
It
It was
was.
really fun to video.
It was. That was a weird experience because that bird coming in, like he sounded like he didn't. It wasn't a hen, but he
He sure
definitely.
sounded like it.
Yeah, but like a really deep sounding hen. You know what I mean? It was like weird.
It's raspy.
It's like I don't know. It's like you walk up to Hot Chick in the bar and she goes, "Hi, my name's Tina."
Sorry, Gina, I don't think you're what I'm looking for.
uh, Wait a minute. Well, but anyways, so uh, they he decided that week, the week I took off, which basically was the very end of October. Now I did take some time off prior to them coming down. Because I've had some previous luck in the past around Halloween, and a lot of people always talk about Halloween, or Halloween's Halloween this, Halloween that, and I've had some previous luck going out there to a couple of the properties and rattling, when the rut was coming in, and I've actually caused a couple pretty good buck fights out there because of doing that, and so I figured I'd just go out and kind of do much of the same thing, and that's kind of what led into that. But anyways,
No. Anyways,
but anyways,
um,
I hunted that week, hunted up that week, and the day that they got in, I was up on top of the ridge. It's actually the same ridge that I ended up shooting that. Well, what the reason we're talking, obviously, is the same ridge I shot that buck on. But when they came in, I had shot a doe that morning. So,
fill in the freezer early.
yeah, there we go. And it's usually how it goes. But
Hey, somebody's got to do doe patrol, and I'll never go against it because that's what I love to do. Back when I lived there, and if they give out more doe tags here, I'd definitely take part.
we're definitely blessed when it comes to the amount of deer we're allowed to shoot. I think Ohio does it right when they only allow us to shoot one antlered deer. I know some people might argue against that, but I think we're doing it right. And we also, throughout the entire state, you can shoot up to 6 deer. And I've talked about this multiple times already, but you can shoot up to 6 deer. Majority of those are obviously antlerless deer, which have antlers less than 3 inches or no antlers at all. But you only allow one antler deer per year. And that it doesn't matter if it's with a bow, shotgun, rifle, muzzleloader, you can only shoot one. That's it. So, and I think it definitely has helped with our mature buck population here in Ohio. Not
It's
saying,
absolutely helped with that, I think. And personally, I think the system that they have going is great because you do have a large density of deer in smaller areas, concentrated into more, not as much land,
right.
which also helps their breeding populations keep their numbers up so you guys can have such good harvest numbers.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's there's abundance of resources for the deer, like when it comes to food, because there's a lot of agriculture here. So there's a lot of abundant resources, and plus there's a lot of like diehard deer hunters out here that do like true property management, and so it's not like resources are lacking in most places. There are places in Ohio, like some of our state parks, and stuff. I think here recently, Mill Creek in the Youngstown area, they've opened up a season inside the park to help reduce numbers because the deer are starting to overpopulate. And there was a big fight there because obviously people who aren't hunters, and I can't necessarily say people who aren't hunters, I'll just say people who are against hunting, threw a fit about it. But what we have to understand is here's what's going to happen. One way or the other, those deer are coming out of there. And if it's not by people who are hunting, it's going to be by precision shooters, right? They're going to go bring in several law enforcement officers to come in who are sharpshooters. They're going to throw out a pile of corn, and at night they're going to come out there and they're going to eradicate the deer. Is what's going to happen. If you don't believe me, look into it. That's what happens is when they start to overpopulate. Because if it's not taken care of, the disease is going to become extremely rampant in there. The resources are going to become scarce,
diminished,
and they're going to become malnourished, or they're going to become a nuisance for the surrounding area because they're going to be coming out into areas they normally would and eating things that, some people might not want them eating, some of their ornamental stuff, some of their decorative stuff, some of the stuff that their own gardens and stuff they're trying to grow in their yards and stuff. Trust me, the deer are going to find the resources that they need.
Well, and I'm going to hold you up there, not to mention the hazard they become for drivers on the road.
Right.
The number of vehicle collisions with white-tailed deer is astounding. And, some will argue that's why your insurance rates are high.
Right.
Some might not agree with that, but I'm sure it's a big part of the reason. As someone who has had a whitetail thrown through the windshield of his pickup truck and land in the passenger seat, I know the hazard they can be. And when numbers get out of control, that's the hazard they are.
Yeah. And so, and I will always, and when coming to that, like, I'm glad Mill Creek went that direction. Like, will always favor more access for hunters in Ohio. Like, give the hunters access to the resource, give us the opportunity to help you manage your numbers. And if we can't manage your numbers through that resources, then by all means, do what you need to do. The alternative
100%.
to that, like I said, is us bringing in sharpshooters, putting out that pile of corn or whatever bait they want to use, and then sniping them. And if that doesn't work, look at New Zealand, because I tell you what they do in New Zealand is they broadcast wide range poison and kill everything.
That's in a sense terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Such a vast resource that we can use to feed ourselves, our families, even the hungry. What is it? Hunters for the Hungry program feeds thousands of people.
Yeah.
Annually throughout multiple states.
Yeah, we have Farmers and Hunters Feeding the Hungry here in Ohio. Is the nonprofit that's prolific here in Ohio.
Good. But anyway, we'll jump out of that rabbit hole and jump back to that ridge.
Back what we were talking about here. So, I mean, the very short end of this story is that this was probably the worst weather I've had for a rut hunt ever. Like, this is the end of October going in November, and it is hot. We're talking like August hot. And, the deer movement just wasn't happening. Just was not happening. I think of the years, I'm pretty sure that's the year Jeff went home empty-handed that year and his boy did too. Just the deer weren't moving. We tried multiple things. It just wasn't happening. And so I remember, once I got, really hot and heavy into the buck hunting, my next morning hunt, that they're there, I'm up on a ridge, which is obviously it's the same ridge. I spent a lot of time up there, and I had a younger buck pushing a doe. He was nice. Like, he was a nice deer. Like, if I shot him, I wouldn't have been upset with myself, but and don't take this the wrong way. He just didn't make my heart go woo when I see him. Right. So I let him go, and I only really had about 50 yard opportunity at him. And I wasn't really wanting to do that, and I guess I forgot to mention that during the summer, this is the first year too that we dealt with all the downed trees, because during the summer they refused to call it a tornado. But we had an extremely violent storm go through the region here, and I know you have relatives that live in Jenaton, Ohio, or Gnadenhutten, or Jenaton Hutton, however you guys pronounce it. Anyways, that, you have a cousin or relative that lives down there that, they had, a lot of trees that were blown over, like a lot of damage that happened in Janaton. Well, that same storm went through that farm, and we had a crap ton of trees down. Like, there was, normal trails that we had was now blocked off. We lost a couple stands because of the trees. Like it was a mess. I mean, he lost thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars of timber, from that storm.
So it just completely changed the landscape for everything.
Yeah, it did. It
not
really
just you guys. It changed it for the deer, the turkeys, and everything using it. And that impacts a lot going into a following season.
Yeah. I mean, you had that, and then the fact it was so warm out, like it was bad. Like it was bad. But so not to go through like day by day, because to go back day by day, it's just, it's a whole lot of nothing for nothing. Like here's my day by day. I didn't see anything. We seen some does here and there. Like I said, that the first morning after my next morning after they got there, I had that smaller buck, decent, I would say a decent 3-year-old, 2.5, 3.5-year-old buck, right? He was pushing a doe. Like I heard him down below, that tending grunt, chasing after. I heard them working their way up through all the blow downs. And so I was ready. I was up in my tree stand. Actually, I was in my saddle. I was ready. I didn't have a camera ready, set up yet. That's how early it was. And so I had my bow in hand, and I just watched the doe come out, and then right behind her was that buck, and I watched him. I'm like, no.
Man, that's tough, man. And you hear that activity coming through right towards you, especially them grunting up like that. It gets you ready to go.
It does. It gets you excited because I've seen some really big deer that way, especially in that same general location. A lot of big deer that have been coming up there pushing does like that. So anyways, he survives, and, pretty much all through that week, like, they weren't seeing anything. If they seen something, it was like a handful of does or a small buck, like, and that was about all we were seeing. Well, this one afternoon, so this one morning I'm going in, I'm actually going all the way back, to a location I like to go to, which is in towards like the back end of the property. And, up on that same ridge that I've been telling you about, that I'm talking about, I seen a big deer stand up there, and it was still early morning, it was gray light, right? I was probably should have been back where I wanted to be by now, but I wasn't. And, I seen him up there, and he just kind of took that ridge line and kind of just continued on his way out, bounded off, which fast forward to, a couple days later, same, we're still hunting the same property. It's the same week. Right. And, his boy, Jeff's boy, sat down at the base of that ridge, which sits close to a field, and he's sitting down there, sits there all morning. I'm back further in, cause I usually pack my stuff back in. And, so I'm coming from further back in, and this is around lunchtime. It's probably about 11:30, right? And I get to where his boy should be at, and here's this big buck sitting there.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's like literally like 25 yards from that tree stand, and guess who wasn't in the tree stand? His boy.
Anybody that should be.
Anybody that should have been, right? And so he kind of, of course he takes off because I'm down, because I come down there. And I go and I'm talking to all of them. I look at Jeff's boy. His name's Liam. I said, "Hey, what time did you get out of the tree?" He goes, "Oh, I don't know. It was probably about 10:30-ish." I said, "Well, you probably should have stayed an extra half hour because I just spooked a big buck out of there. Legitimately, he was down there just hanging out. So he must have been out looking for a girlfriend." And so he was kicking himself about that. And
that's a heartbreaker, just knowing that, another however long it was could have changed the entire game for him.
Yeah. So I hunted with them, and I think they eventually went to another farm because the property owner, his brother-in-law, has a property that has some pretty decent deer in it, and it's not heavily hunted. So they went out there to go check that out. And, I kind of, hung around there for a little bit, but once again, still not seeing anything, right? So I'm starting to get like uber frustrated. Like, I've been hunting hard for about a week and a half ish, right? And it's getting frustrating for me. And because normally, like, I don't expect to see deer every day, but like the amount of deer that we seen was abysmal. Like, it was just small does, or if I seen bucks, they were on a doe and they were too far away. Like, it just nothing was coming together that week. Well, eventually we finally get a cold front move through, and I think I'm back to work. Actually, like, that season like comes and goes, and I'm back to work, right? Or I'm getting close to coming back to work. And we get
Rutation's coming to an end.
yeah,
You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're gonna have to go back to the weekend warrior.
pretty much is what it ends up becoming. But so a cold front comes in, and every year I try to shoot a doe here at my own home property. And so that cold front moved through. I didn't feel I'm beyond frustrated. I didn't go out to any of the farms. I forget. I don't know if I was busy doing something. I don't remember now. But I ended up sitting here at the house, and sure enough, a big old doe comes in to my setup here, and I end up shooting her. And Kendrick got to, I used him to help trail for her because he hasn't done it in a while, and so he got to join in on the excitement of that. And then that
It's
same
very cool that he gets the opportunity to help you along in that process. Even if it's not a hard find, it's still a fun find having your dog with the nose to the ground doing something as cool as that.
right,
Like watching dogs work. It like for me, I don't know anybody else, but for me, like there's nothing better than just seeing a working dog or a hunting dog do what they were put here to do. And that just it's incredible.
it is. It's a fun thing to watch, and it's such a shame that a lot of the Western states are really pushing hard to get away from using hounds for the pursuit of game.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, don't get me started on
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's a shame. Uh, yeah, whatever. It's a hot button topic, and I get it. And obviously, we know where we're going to stand on that. Like, that's stupid that you're doing that. But anyways, but yeah,
Well,
he's not. I wouldn't put him in a competition for it, but he does a pretty good job, and he found
he
that.
gets you where you need to go, and
Yeah,
that's what matters.
yeah, he found that doe. It wasn't hard, but he found that doe, and he's all excited, and he got to pose with me for a picture with the deer. So, and it was that same cold front that Josh went out, and he had an opportunity at a big buck out there at Harrison County, and I don't know what happened there. Like, he showed me, I seen the video, and he sit up in the tree, and this deer's coming in, and he goes and gets a hold of his bow, and that deer just picked him off, like just picked him off, and that was it. Like, I think I couldn't tell you how close the deer was by watching the video because it wasn't zoomed in. Like, it was but I don't know. I bet you that deer had to be 25, 30 yards from him. And
Not enough to make you want to sit in your truck for 20 minutes and just sob.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he just turned and trotted off up into the field away from him. And it was a big deer. I got an idea which one that was too. But yeah, and I think it's the last time I had a video from Josh ever.
Man, and knowing that farm to have, because I think I saw the pictures of the deer that he had sent in the group chat, and we know there are big deer that use that farm and utilize that farm, but to actually get daylight glimpse of one of those deer in the stand is few and far between, especially there with the pressure
Yeah.
and the pressure on the surrounding properties. So, man, that's just heartbreak.
Yeah. Yeah. And I felt bad for him because he called me afterwards. I'm like, dude, that sucks. But those big deer, man, I'm telling you, they have a whole nother sense to them, right? You don't get away with
Absolutely.
much with them. Every now and again, they get stupid, but
well, man, maybe like people have just been tree stand hunting for long enough now. But I remember starting out, younger years, starting out bow hunting in the trees. Oh, deer don't look up. Deer don't look up. Bullshit.
That's why you say it, because ask John Eberhart there in Michigan. He's like, every deer in Michigan looks up in the tree. That's why I hunt higher.
That's a big bird.
Especially me. I'm like, there ain't much that actually I emulate up here other than just being a big dude in a tree wearing camo.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be part of this stump that's hanging out. Like, don't look at me.
Don't look at me. So yeah, and that pretty much brought my rutcation to an end, right? That was it. Like I shot at at least one or two does, which I'm happy for, like, because we eat a lot of deer meat, and I love, like, I'm a doe slayer. I've got no problem shooting does. I you know what, there's a reason why we're allowed to shoot so many, and because our population is a little high. Now, is it to the point to where it's, I don't know, not beneficial or anything? No, it's not that terrible, but we do have an excess, and let me put this, we do have an abundance. So it does not hurt for people to go out and shoot does. But anyways.
No, and like, despite whoever's political views that may or may not be listening, groceries are pretty damn expensive right now. So whack them and stack them, as Uncle Ted says.
Yeah, tell me about it. But so anyways, the rutcation came to a bitter end with no antlers hitting the ground, right? and really, seriously, I didn't see, I did not have an opportunity at any buck that I wanted to shoot while in a tree. None whatsoever. It's not like I didn't really pass on a whole lot. The only one I really passed on was that one, about 2.5, maybe 3.5-year-old buck, right? And I just didn't want to shoot him. Like when I look at a deer and I don't have, and I'm not telling other people that you need to be like me, like, and that's not what I'm saying, right? Like what I'm saying is if I look at a deer and I go, oh yeah, I'm probably going to shoot that deer, right? If I had to sit and think about it, I'm probably not going to shoot that deer.
And that feeling's going to vary from person to person.
It is. It really is.
Have something with antlers come under the tree with my bow. That's an oh yeah moment for me. All I can get are slick heads coming through. So
right, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't look down on anybody who does that. I'm just it just, for me, it's like there's a certain, once I look at it, there's nothing more to it other than when I look at deer, go, oh yeah, I am probably going to shoot that deer if I get the opportunity.
Which goes into the experience that you want.
Exactly. And I can't explain to you what the exact parameters of that is. But it's,
I bet it varies day to day.
It does. No, usually, I'm looking at body size, antler size somewhat, right? But mostly, body size. If it's a big bodied buck, like, he's probably going to die.
Absolutely.
Because, there's a lot of older deer that don't carry great antlers. Now, I will say this, like, I wouldn't mind shooting one to go into the Buckeye Big Buck Club, which is 140 typical, right? The only reason I say that is not because I want to be a trophy hunter, nothing like that. I actually want to be a scorer for them. I think it'd be cool to go around and score deer. And I got some buddies in the ODNR that's asked me a couple times if I am a scorer, because they are always looking for people to help them score poached deer, which comes back to the restitution to the state. But anyways,
which would be a very cool thing to do and be able to help with.
Yeah, it would be a cool thing to help with. But at the end of the day, like, you have to be a member. You have to have a member. Well, you have to be a member of the Buckeye Big Buck Club to be a scorer for them, and that entails having an entry into the club, which I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. Like, but I'm not. I want to shoot a 140-inch typical deer or a 160-inch non-typical, right? I want to, because I want to be part of the club, not because I'm a trophy hunter, but that's because I just want to do this, right?
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean that this year I'm passing up a 130 waiting for that. I'm not doing that, right? It's, if it happens, it happens. But anyways, so
back to it.
So now I'm back to work, right? And I'm really dejected because I've used 2 weeks of my vacation for basically nothing, right? I mean, yes, hunting, a worst day hunting is better than your best day at work. I get that, right? But it just, I don't know. Like, it got me to the point where I swore I would never take off for like that type for like 2 weeks again, ever. ever, right?
Oh man, the morale goes down. You start getting in your own head.
Mm-hmm.
Everything starts coming up. You question even your own ability as just a woodsman,
Oh, trust
and,
me. You know, you
and
start.
you're ready to just put it all in the yard sale and say, you know what, we'll find something else. Maybe I'll
There,
be better at golf.
yeah, there's a lot of demons that you have to. There's a lot of little demons sitting on your shoulders that you have to like sit there and ignore because you're right because you're sitting there like this is stupid. I could be sitting at the house right now. I could be doing other things. I could be playing fetch with the dog. You know, I could actually be working, not not waste the vacation time. I don't know why I bought this stupid bow. you just you just start questioning everything at that point in time.
Everything, man.
And but you know, long story
The
short,
persistence pays off, as we
it
discovered in your interviews with the hunters that were getting their deer scored from the Ohio Big Buck Club and everything Greg was doing there at Northeast Outdoors.
yeah, persistence does pay off. And you know, that was a learning lesson I had from 2022 because we're about to go into the actual, you know, the actual final hunt of that, you know, of this story. But, you know, persistence does pay off and having patience and just, you know, just tell yourself one more ridge, just one more ridge. Like just one more sit. You'll be fine. One more sit.
20
So
more minutes.
yeah, just 10 more, just 30 more minutes. You got this. You can do this, right? Well, anyways, so fast forward to youth season now is coming in Ohio, and which I think is November 18th that year. I think because our youth gun season is only for a weekend, and it's the weekend before our actual gun season comes in. So our gun season is always the Monday following Thanksgiving, and so the weekend before Thanksgiving is when youth season comes in. So it's that weekend, and we had a great cold front move through, like a great cold front. And unfortunately, one of those days, which was Saturday, I was booked to DJ a an anniversary party for somebody, right? So I'm sitting there, and it's in, you know, that afternoon, which fine, whatever, you know. I'm about tired of hunting at this point anyways. and and so I'm sitting here, and you know, everything's going great, and all of a sudden my phone goes off, right? And I look down, it's a notification from my cell cam, or one of my cell cams. I'm like, all right. So I open it up, and here's this buck, this big buck. It's like 4 or something PM. This buck cruising the ridge. I'm like, you son of a gun.
Double-edged sword, those cell cams.
I'm like, you son of a gun. And now I'm sitting there, I'm kind of frowning the rest of the time. I'm like, you know, there's a couple other hunters there. I said, look at this. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? I'm like, I know, right?
Who the hell gets married and has an anniversary in deer season?
I'm like, they're like, well, what are you going to do? Like, you got to be going out there tomorrow. I'm like, I am going out there tomorrow. He goes, well, good. You should. I'm like, I know. So, you know, of course, that kind of, you know, truth be told, that kind of lit a little bit of a fire underneath of me, right? So I already had a game plan for the next morning because I knew I was going out, right? Now, during youth gun season here in Ohio, we have to wear our hunter's orange, even if we're not gun hunting. So I can still hunt with my bow. I can still do all that. And just obviously, I can't be out with a gun. You know, I can be out with a youth hunter who has a gun, and I don't have anything on me, right? I have to be just basically as a mentor for that youth hunter. But
Okay.
You still have to wear your hunter's orange. So you have to remember the mindset here. I've just spent the largest part of November so far climbing in and out of the tree saddle, climbing up trees, climbing down out of trees, climbing back up into trees, marching back a mile back into the woods and back, right? You know, I've spent the largest part of November doing this. I'm tired. I'm lacking motivation, even though I got a picture of this deer, right? I'm lacking motivation. So I get up a little bit later than most people probably would, right? And I make my way out to the farm. It's like 19 degrees out that day. And I take my time getting out there. It's well past day.
Hold on. Sorry. I got to stop you right there. You say 19?
Yeah, 19 degrees.
Well, it's good to see that cold front had finally showed up.
Yeah, it was 19 degrees that morning. And I made it a point to bring coffee with me too. Like this is the first time. Like
That weather, absolutely.
I literally went to Dick's Sporting Goods after that anniversary was done, right, and bought one of those hot shot caps, right, for
Uh,
for my Yeti tumbler. So not tumbler, it's the bottle, right? So I could bring my coffee in with me because I'm not going in there without coffee.
I don't know. Something's got to warm the cord.
or
It's not going to be shivering.
or something warm, right? So I have a plan in mind, right? And my plan is that my plan A is that I'm going back to where not that ridge, right? But I'm going to an intersection that ridge feeds into. And there's a multiple little ridges that come together there, right? If there's a deer running up there, a buck that's traveling, he's going to use that trying to find does through different bedding areas. Like he's going to be up there at some point in time. So that's my game plan, right? I get there, it's well after daylight. I walk back there. I get to the point, I'm looking around for the tree I want to climb in, and I'm just feeling the wind, and I'm like, the wind's not right. I don't like the way the wind's blowing here because I have an idea where deer are going to come from, and it's blowing that direction. Like it just, something doesn't seem right to me, right? So I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna have to call an audible instead of just going back home. Like the audible is I'm going back to this ridge where I was sitting, where this buck has been running, right, this entire time. And where I seen that in the exact same tree
with being on that ridge, that'll put the wind in a favorable position. Correct?
Yeah. So what that actually did for me was that the trail that buck was on, that camera took a picture of him on. So if you think about it, the wind is blowing from that trail to where I will be sitting. So I'm going to be, was it downwind? Yeah, I'll be downwind of the deer. Yeah, downwind. Anyways, if he runs that same trail, whatever, right? So I go back, I find I climb back in the tree. This is, well, I don't climb in the tree. This is the exact same tree I've been using several times. I've been up in this ridge. And so I get my first stick put in. This is before I started one sticking. So I had a pack of sticks with me with a nader. I get the first stick set in the tree. And then I'm like, you know what? I got to pee. And so I packed in like my heavier coat with me. So I got like a vest. I got my heavier base layer on and like some wool pant and like their like midweight pants. Not midweight, but their Sherpa line pants from Ozio Gear. That's what I wore up there. And I had my heavier parka set, in my backpack. So
ready for the time of year it is.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for the cold weather, right? I've got my saddle on, stuff like that. And so I'm like, you know what? I better go pee before I climb up this tree.
Well, now, before you go pee, I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if it gets asked a lot. I do know, I think it's Steve Ranella talks about most hunters aren't even sure what kind of tree that they're set up in when they shoot the deer. Do you know what type of tree you were in when you did shoot? Or I guess we'll get to that part. But what type of tree you set your stick in prior to shooting the deer?
Oh, it's not an oak. I know that. I want to say it was probably a poplar.
Okay. I just had to ask, not to put you on the spot, but
yeah,
just one of those things that I had to ask the burning question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a poplar tree. It wasn't an oak, and I don't think it was a maple. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it was a poplar tree. And
right on.
Yeah, it was like one of the very few trees still standing up there. one of the very few big trees that were still standing up there. And
deeply rooted.
Yeah, apparently. And well, long story. I'm gonna go down a tangent, but anyways. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a poplar tree. And so, like I said, I got that first stick in there. I grounded all my stuff, right? So my backpack, my bow, all that's sitting on the ground, and I got film equipment with me, GoPro, stuff like that. Like it's all in the backpack, just sitting there. And the only thing that I have on that I hunt with is my release, because I will not go. This is before I switched to shooting with a thumb barrel for hunting. I was shooting them during the summer for target shooting, but for some reason I talked myself into going back into index style release for hunting, which whatever, it worked out. So I did have that on my wrist, and I walked away from my tree about 10 yards. I'll remind you, the wind is coming from the trail to me. So I'm downwind. So I pee, right? I'm sitting there, looking down the other side of the ridge, peeing, and I just get finished up, and I hear a scurrying behind me and off to my left. I'm like, well, it sounds like a squirrel. So, I kind of, finish up, zip up, and kind of look over my left shoulder. And sure enough, there's this big old freaking fox squirrel, just a fat fox squirrel, just bounding up the trail. And I knew it. I knew it from the get go that that's what it was. But then I caught a glimpse of that buck on the trail, right behind that squirrel, at about 35 yards.
Oh man,
I'm like, shit.
the odds of a squirrel just pipping you off, even.
Right. That squirrel. I don't know if the buck scared the squirrel out or what, but that buck was standing there, and I'm like, shit, I'm on the ground. Like, I'm on the ground 10, 15 yards from my bow, right? With Hunter's Orange on, with Blaze Orange. I have that Blaze Orange vest has been on me since I got there, right? And I'm on the ground. And I'm at eye level with this deer at 35 yards. The only thing that's in my favor right now is the wind is blowing from him to me. So he can't smell me. So I'm like, I got to make a move. I got to try to do something. So I get down and I crawl back to my tree, right?
Right.
So I crawl back to my tree. I grab my bow.
Like on your belly.
Well, no, hands and knees. I didn't arm me crawl, but I'm hands and knees crawling back to that tree, right? I want to say it was as slow as possible, but I'm pretty sure it's probably faster than what I probably should have done. Because I guarantee, I know I was almost in panic mode because I'm like, what do I do? I literally got caught with my dick in my hand. And
absolutely. And I'm sure, like most of those, we won't compare them to like real high stress situations, but high stress situations, everything slows down. And you're just doing everything you can to hopefully make the right move in a panic.
Exactly. Well, apparently all that time I spent shooting in the summer has done something for me. So I get back, I crawl back there, I get my bow in my hand, right? First thing I do, bow in hand. Now I still have my release on. I don't even try to grab a GoPro. Don't try to grab any of my cameras, right? It's not the time and place for it. I wasn't even thinking about that, right? Because I've just
having the tough couple of weeks you had.
Yeah, like I've just spent the majority of of the rut like just getting my teeth kicked in by hunting, right? It's just from weather, just bad conditions, just the deer not cooperating. Like my teeth literally have been kicked in all rut so far. Like this is going to have to happen now or not, So, and of course, this is coming off the year that I didn't shoot one because I let one go a couple times. And then the last time I had actually released an arrow on a buck, it ended up hitting too low and I didn't get him. So I'm kind of needing a win right now, right?
Absolutely.
And so, that was actually, what was that, 2020? Yeah, it was 2020. It was the last time I put an arrow in a buck. And
long time coming.
Yeah. So I grab the bow, I get an arrow off out of the quiver, I get it knocked, a little peek around the tree. This buck's still coming. Like he has like no idea that I'm there. And so then I get my release attached to the D loop. And it's at that moment I'm like, this is actually going to happen. Like how this deer does not know that I'm there, because this is a big tree I'm behind, but like I'm not, like there's a lot of movement happening here. Like I don't know how he does not know that I'm not there.
And especially in colder weather with those leaves assumingly on the ground, a lot of noise. I mean, we all know squirrels make noise. It doesn't matter what damn time of the year it is. They make a ruckus, but just the shuffling with hands and knees on the ground, getting the bow, the noise that always seems louder than it probably is of knocking that arrow.
And I don't know if he was just that tuned in on a mission, or that he knew where he was going. Or I don't know what was happening that day. Divine intervention, whatever, right? Something was happening this day, right? And so I get I get my release, attached to the knot to my D loop. And I'm like, all right, you're just going to wait for your moment for the draw because I'm on the ground and I'm, within 20 yards of this deer. He gets his head behind, he's walking up the trail. He gets his head behind another tree, one of the other very few larger trees that are still standing. I'm like, now it's now or never. So I get drawn back and anchored, and now it's just a waiting game. But really in a waiting game, like more of it's because of my perception, because this deer never stopped walking. Like he's on a mission to go somewhere, right? And he steps out from behind that tree. I, the game to stop. I get the pin on him good enough, and then I just started to go through my shot sequence. The shot broke, and it hit him higher than I thought it would. Now going back watching, I wish I had like actual camera footage of it so I can actually see what happened. But I end up spying him, and he hit the ground like right now, right? And
Absolutely.
like immediately, like there was no second thought of it. Like I immediately got up, grabbed another arrow, walked up to him, and now I don't want to get too graphic in this, but I had to. It was kind of a little dance between him and I for me to line up another good shot on him. Like I'm literally standing over top of him, and I line up. Finally he stops moving long enough for me to line up a good shot without having to keep shuffling my feet. And then I released another arrow right through the heart, and then that was it. And
well, at least it finished quickly, and you didn't have that moment of hesitation of, oh, I messed up, all this. I'll see what happens and see if he expires. And you were able to finish that process in a quick, efficient manner.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
ideal for anybody.
It's not ideal, but to be quite honest with you, it was a lot better than have to tracking. I hate to, because I've been on a few blood trails in my life, and that just went nowhere, or the blood just petered out, and and you never found the deer, and it's been like that for a couple bucks that I've shot, and it's just a terrible feeling, and but here's the thing though, like it's kind of a bittersweet thing, because I watched that deer die. Like literally was standing over top of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of an odd feeling. Like you're happy, but yet you're kind of like, I don't know if it's remorse. I don't know what you call it.
Empathy, I think, would be.
Empathy, maybe. Because you literally watch the life and the light come out of this animal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
been there in a relative situation, and it's never easy. It doesn't ever get any easier. You always want that shot to be a cleaner shot. You always want it to be a swift, quick death for that animal. And as archery hunters, we've all shared some kind of experience to where it didn't go as planned. You didn't have time to range it. You thought it was a little closer. You thought it was a little farther. Or even they duck the string and it hits a certain area. It's part of the game, and without that sense of empathy behind it, I could see a lot of evil coming out of someone. But with that empathy we share, we don't want that to happen. And I'm not saying it makes us any better, but it shows the human nature that we care for these animals and we care for the sustenance that they provide, and we don't want them to suffer.
No, yeah, exactly. We want it to be as quick and as humane as possible. And I mean that was. I mean, technically, I don't think there could have been anything quicker, to be quite honest with you. But man, I'll tell you what, man. Once it was all said and done, and you finally take those last few moments, and you get through those, and it's just the excitement. I'm like, holy crap, what did I just do? Like, I immediately get my phone out, because I'm recording, obviously, or I've been recording for a production that I wanted to do for Rutcation. And I didn't have any of my film equipment out, so I just grabbed my iPhone and just started recording. And I'm like, I can't believe this. I just shot a buck. Like, you could, like, the excitement in my voice and stuff was great. And I'm taking pictures. I'm calling people. I'm like, look at this. Like I went up to,
it's freaking awesome.
I mean, this thing was a freaking brute. I wish I was able to actually get a full weight on him. He was just a big deer. Like his neck was thick. Like everything about him, like his antlers were thick. Um, he didn't carry a lot of time length, right? Nor, he's just like I don't know, the best way to describe his antlers was short and stocky. It's just a lot of mass in a compact package, right? And
Very cool.
yeah, he was just a big deer. He's a fighter too, because he had broken off part of a tine. So he obviously had been fighting. That was his ridge. Like that was probably his farm, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, probably. And, knowing the deer that just come and go around that farm, and he was resident king shit,
Right.
is super cool. And, this story just takes us through the lowest of lows to the highest of highs in a matter of, minutes, seconds. And to be able to have such an incredible hunt and an opportunity that you had just is a testament to itself.
Yeah, it was definitely a story of persistence and just not giving up. And even though I was about to, like, I can't tell you that I'm like, oh, I can't give up. Like I was to the point where, like, I think I'm done. Not done hunting, but I think I'm like done, because once gun season comes in, I'm usually taking a break anyways. Because I normally don't go out with the gun. So I know I was getting to the point, and I had lost the motivation to get up to go early, because normally I try to get there before sun up, so at least I'm at the farm before sun up. Now I might not be fully set up till after like, I don't know, maybe the first few minutes of legal hunting light, but generally, I'm there before that. But I don't think I left the house before legal sunlight before legal sunlight, right? That
Which
day.
is another testament. There were a lot of things in that story that a lot of hardcore guys would absolutely not have done. But you're a hardcore guy, and after getting, just grinding and like you said, getting your teeth kicked in, it just gets to a point of, well, the wind's in my favor, everything's fine, we'll go ahead and take a leak, get this out of the way before we get in the tree. And, a lot of guys would sit here and frown and just go, oh, you peed by the tree you're going to be hunting in. What if the wind switched? What if this? What if that? Well, guys, what if till you're blue in the face because the deer is on the wall?
Right. Well, here's a what if for you. What if I didn't have to pee and I'm 2 sticks up?
Absolutely.
Because that's about the timing that would have been. I'd been on my second or third stick, and my bow
would have been on the dirt.
And the bow had been on the ground that I had to pull up to me. That deer would have seen that.
And
I would hope.
Yeah, and I don't know how you climb a tree, if you're as safe as others, not as safe as others, if you're tethered in, that you could even, be anchored enough to turn and even get a shot off while you're putting sticks in.
I got a lineman's rope that I use when I'm climbing. Now, when I'm one sticking, I'm tethered in, but when I'm using multiple sticks, I just use a lineman's rope. So
Okay.
I could have maybe have made it happen if it all worked out that way.
But you'd have been just all twisted out of sorts, trying to lean towards that. Huh?
Like, yeah, that'd been like a whole lot more of things, because that's him not seeing me climbing first and foremost. And if it's not seeing me climbing because I'm behind the trees between him and I, he's going to see my arms sticking out and around trying to move my lineman's rope, or me trying to, grab a hold of the strap for my next stick, things like that. Like a whole lot of good things happen. So if I didn't have to pee that morning, I don't know if this would have happened.
And fortunately, we'll never have to worry about it.
No, we won't. No, we won't, because it worked out that way. So, of course, I called Josh. I said, hey, Josh, I'm going to need your help. I did a thing.
This guy's heavy.
Yeah. And I end up getting him scored. And, he didn't score as great as I thought he would. And let me say this now. It still doesn't take anything away from this deer, right? The score is not important to me. Like, he's a big old deer, and like his bases, I can barely get my fingers around. And I wear like an XL glove. So he's he's got some pretty good mass to him. It's just he ended up grossing 132, and he lost like 8.8 inches in deductions because of first off, he's got a broken tine, and then he's got an extra point coming off his brow tine, which was about 2 or 3 inches. So that took a few inches off of his symmetry.
But man, that's still cool. That bladed brow tine split off the way it is. Super cool.
Yeah, he's a unique buck, and I'm just glad to finally have him back. And I remember the first cut that we cooked off of him was a roast, and this thing was the biggest roast I've ever seen. I ended up reverse searing that one. So I threw that in the smoker to get it up to about 120, I think 120, 130 internal, somewhere around there, right? And then I pulled it and let it rest for a little bit while I got the griddle up to piping hot, and then seared it. Man, it was so good.
And all that work and everything that went into it finally came to fruition, being able to enjoy such a beautiful meal.
Yeah. If it's and sometimes that's even better than the trophy itself. But man, I'll tell you what, I'm just happy to have him back home finally. I turned him in that day, which I think it was November 19th of 2022 that I shot him. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Long awaited chat we've been just dying to have.
Yeah, no kidding. Let me double check. At least
since the podcast came to fruition, and since you had harvested him and been waiting to get it back, it seems like.
Yeah, but I'm telling you what, man, it was worth the wait. Cunningham is definitely one of the better taxidermists in the region, and his work shows, and just how busy he is. Then that also shows towards his skill level too. But he's human.
It kind of goes hand in hand with the story. It was a long wait for the deer on the hoof, and great wait for the deer after. And like you said, the work that Cunningham does is beautiful, and does a testament to remember that animal.
Yeah, actually, it was November 20th that I shot him.
Okay.
So historically speaking, I don't know. It's hard for me to really say this, but I have more opportunities at bigger deer later in November than I do in the beginning of November, which is why I've kind of tried to not take time off around October, the end of October, first part of November. Now, I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because of how that farm sets up. I couldn't tell you exactly why, but I tend to have more opportunities. Like, the one I shot in 2020 that I didn't recover, that was in November 16th ish, I think is when that happened. Okay. Another big one that I had put an arrow in, that was the day before gun season. He was cruising a day before gun season. So now we're after Thanksgiving, right? So
just getting deeper in.
Yeah.
But seems like the winter's there, which winter here kind of unpredictable, but the winters there seem to be a little more unseasonably as the years have gone on as well. And maybe that could be pushing the does back from going into that snap of going into heat.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say. Most of the time what they say, it's actually because of light. The amount of light that their eyes are picking up on is what causes them to go into estrus, because to be honest with you, they want to make sure they hit it at the right time so that most of their fawns are born in the spring when there's a lot of abundance. And so it's kind of a timing thing for them, regardless if it's hot, warm or not. It's going to happen. I think there's a lot of studies too that show that. I just think the majority of that might be just a reduced activity because of how hot it is. They're not as active during those periods.
Maybe hitting scrapes and getting the scent down that those bucks are using to follow them and find them.
Right, because you got to think about it. I mean, that would be kind of the equivalent to you running around, 110 miles an hour all day in a winter coat during the summer.
Yeah.
No matter what your motivations, how long is it going to be before you say this is stupid? Right.
And even at that, you can compare it to just hunting them during that time.
Right. So yeah, I kind of get the idea why they're not very active during the daylight during that, or when it's hot out. They're still doing these things, but a lot of the time it's happening when it's cool, when it's colder. And that's why, and I think personally, so maybe this kind of explains why when those cold fronts came in, that's when we started to see the deer moving when they did, is because they finally, hey, it's actually cold enough for me to move around. I don't,
Finally get the perfect storm. It's cloudy, it goes into that lack of or length of daylight maybe that you're getting as, the winter progresses into, and you get the snap that you need to get them on the hoof. Just the perfect storm of everything finally coming together that just wasn't.
yeah, I don't know. But anyways, he's here. He's here. And it's been a long time coming. And just looking
Well,
at
I'm
it,
happy for you, man. And it was a great story. It's a super awesome hunt. Once in a lifetime hunt for sure. It bums me out you didn't get it on camera, but it also at the same time, I'm just happy you were able to harvest such a magnificent creature. And on that note, do you have any advice for the hunters out there? They're getting their asses kicked, ready to put it in 20 minutes earlier than they said they were going to, or, hang it up because, well, it's youth season and all these kids out here are just ruining it for everybody and we need to go back to this.
well,
What do you have for them?
the only advice I really have for anyone really, and not because I'm not because I'm a huge buck killer or anything, but the advice is just be persistent, because it just takes 10 seconds for your hunt to change. And you don't know when that 10 seconds is going to be. And so you just gotta have faith knowing that the next 10 seconds is going to be the 10 seconds. And just have faith that it's going to happen, and just get out there, enjoy it, and if you do get burnt out, you do get frustrated, there's nothing wrong with taking a break. Like, take a break, walk away for a little bit, relax, go do something else, get caught up on some other things that, maybe you've been sitting waiting on because, you're out hunting, which there's nothing wrong with that. Just get a couple things out of the way, get your mind off of it, get refreshed, and then come back at it when you're ready. But don't get too frustrated, and just know that, like I said, it could be the next 10 seconds. So that's the best I can tell you.
And it seems to be a consistent response between hunters who harvest really good deer is just persistency. And it's something that seems to never fail. And if you stay on it and you keep at it, I know a lot of times it's hard to keep that positive mental attitude. Trust me, I have been there the last few years. But you got to keep going because you're not going to kill them on the couch. But sometimes, like you said, a reset is needed, and it'll get you back into the mindset of, what am I doing? I only get so many days a year to hunt. This is great. It doesn't matter if I'm not seeing anything. Let's go.
Yeah. And, that's a good point too. Like, sometimes you don't measure your success based upon an actual harvest of an animal, but just measure success of just being out there and enjoying the outdoors,
Yeah, not everybody gets to do it.
No.
The people that want to do it don't have the opportunity to.
No, and just count your blessings that you're able to go when you can, even if it's just one day. Enjoy those moments. Because, like the guys at Hush and say, you only get so many opening days, and we only get so many days to go out and pursue these things, and eventually we get to the point where we can't anymore. Whether we physically can't, or we're just physically not here anymore. So enjoy those moments. Go get those experiences. Go make those memories, and don't let and don't and don't let your idea of success get skewed or perversed. Like, because it's great to come home with an animal. It's great to have a great story, but there's been a lot of hunts. Like, some of my most memorable hunts, I walked away with nothing. Going out to Colorado, that's an ass kicker. But those are some of my favorite hunts, is because, we remember the hard times more than we do the good times. Like, it's just something about them. They meant more to us, whether it's the whether it's determination, it's the just simply getting your teeth kicked in. Like, you remember that. And that's why I think this hunt was so special, is because I did get my teeth kicked in. Like, and then all of a sudden it all paid off at the very end. And, but hey, it is what it is. Like that's the experience of life. That's the experience that we want, experience we're looking for. It's definitely the experience I was looking for, and I
And it
got
can
it.
be the experience that you chase.
Yeah. Not to sound too cliche, but there it is. Um, and I knew, or I said earlier that I'm like, I even told myself I'm never going to take time off to do this ever again. I did it again this year.
And you'll do it again next year and the year after.
And I'm probably going to do it again and again and again. I keep trying to talk Jeff and then come up later. Like, don't come up like the first week of November. Wait till later. Because once again, I don't know. Maybe I just tell them, hey, you guys just come up, and then I'll put most of my effort into hunting after they leave, because usually the day after I leave is when I get an opportunity. Because
and they can get deer down. You have kind of a flexible schedule for the most part. You
right.
can help them get them out of the woods, talk about the hunt, sit around the campfire in such a way to hear the story of how it all went down. So,
Well, this year, though, the buck I shot this past season, that was the first day after they left. I shot him. So, hey, whatever. But anyways, yeah, that's the story. That's the story of my biggest buck to date.
the biggest buck to date, the one we so lovingly have nicknamed the Dick and Hand deer.
Yeah. That's his infamous name now. Josh was telling me, he's like, you ought to like have names for all your deer hanging on the wall with them in a short story. Because that's pretty much what me and all the guys call this buck. Oh, it's just that. Well, Sam, do you have anything else you want to close out on?
I don't have anything else to add. It was great to be able to kind of flip the tables again. Probably ask as many questions, but I don't feel like I needed to with as great of a picture as you paint and as good of a storyteller as you are. And thank you for getting this all together. Thanks to Cunningham for getting that deer back to you. And I know it was a lot of work for them. And thanks to everyone out there listening. We appreciate you sitting down, taking the time, and hearing us just babble on about everything. So I think I'll leave it off on that.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for your kind words, and I also like echo everything you said. Thanks to Cunningham and your hard work and stuff you put in, even though some of the trials and tribulations your family's been through in the past several months. I appreciate you working diligently to just to keep your business going, and also to help us relive those memories and stuff of our favorite hunts and stuff. And also, ladies and gents, I can't thank you enough for you taking the last hour and a half of your time to sit and listen to the story of the Dick and Hand buck. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know that we enjoy telling this, and I actually hope that you guys just enjoy the podcast in general. If you're new to the podcast, feel free to go ahead and subscribe or follow us on whatever platform that you are listening to this on, which this is going to appear on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and YouTube. So you can check us out on those platforms as well. If you haven't, like I say, if you haven't followed us yet, please do so. And also, if you have the moment, please take the time to leave us a review and to let us know how we're doing. 5 stars obviously is great, but if you don't think we earned it, then don't give it to us. Let us know how we can improve, because, I do listen. We do listen to this kind of stuff. If you want to know more about Kountryfried Outdoors, don't be afraid to check us out on Instagram. That's Kountryfried Outdoors, spelled with a K. And we're also on YouTube, which is Kountryfried Outdoor Productions, once again spelled with a K. Spoiler alert, this hunt that we were talking about is featured on the channel under our Rutcation 2022 video production. I will have a link for it in the show description, so you guys can just click on it and go check it out. So make sure you subscribe to us there as well, and also leave us a review or some comments on that video. We do like to get back and talk to you guys. With that being said, folks, we really do hope you guys are out there chasing the experience that you want. And as you're doing so, and as you're honing your skills towards that, we really hope that you have the courage to fail, but yet have the humility to learn, so that you can perfect the skills that you need to chase that experience that you want. As you're doing this, we hope that you are safe and sound and enjoying those outdoor experiences. And ladies and gents, as always, until our experiences cross paths again, God bless you guys. Thank you for listening to the Kountryfried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. Before you go, don't forget to leave us a review and follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Are you hungry for more Kountryfried Outdoors? Then follow us on Instagram at Kountryfried Outdoors or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Kountryfried Outdoor Productions.